Touchdown Tampa Bay, you're listening to the Pewtercast.
Welcome to the Pewtercast. I am Brent Allen, your host, and joining me, as always, is a man who's got a pretty scruffy beard going on there. It's looking good, though. Ren Daxt. Ren, how's it going, my friend?
Yeah, the beard tends to come and go with me a lot.
I like it. It works for you, man.
These past few years. Yeah, well, it gets sort of unruly, and then I never really shave it all the way off. I just take clippers and shave it all the way down, then clean it up a bit, and then off to the races again it goes.
There you go.
Until I get tired of it, or Cheryl yells at me about it, and then back to square one, I guess.
There you go. Well, I like it. It works for you. Well, welcome, fans. We are here with I don't know. This isn't really a super special episode, but it is certainly a very timely episode, Ren. We thought that here in the long, dark night of football, we would have no news to talk about. But as anyone who is listening to this as a Bucs fan knows, and even if you're not a Bucs fan and you're listening to this podcast for some reason, you'll know that there is very much stuff to talk about. There are things happening concerning the Buccaneers. We have really two things to talk about. One very, very short that we just kind of, I don't know, Ren, for me is a little bit of a I told you so. And then the other one certainly will take up the bulk of our time. So we've got a couple fan questions at the end that we'll get to as well, depending on how our time and our schedule goes. So I don't want to waste anybody's time. Let's just dive right into it, Ren.
Yeah.
The first bit of news that we have is offensive line guard J.R. Sweezy has been cut from the team.
I guess it's not a shock if you've been paying attention.
A little bit of a shock for me now. I don't know. I don't want to say a little bit of a shock. I think the further we got into it, I really thought Sweezy would at least make it to camp. I really did.
Well, he was going to get to as far as soon as he was cleared to practice.
Right.
Which, that's what happened. And as soon as he was cleared to practice, they let him go. And
right.
The reason we've been saying for, weeks/months is if they let him go when he's injured, they have to negotiate an injury settlement.
Mm-hmm.
If they let him go once he's been cleared for practice, which means he's healthy, then there is no negotiation. I'm not exactly sure what his contract is. I don't think there's any guaranteed money.
There is. It's actually a part of his bonus that they paid him up front that is still going to hit the cap this year. So he was due. His cap hit this year was like 6.5 or something like that, 6.25. And the cap hit is still going to be like right around that 1.5, like 1.3, something like that. But they're saving $4.8 million on the deal right now. So,
which immediately everyone's thinking, well, now there's some money to sign Quan or Alley or Donovan.
Right. And that's certainly my thought. I think that would be the preference. In case anybody wonders, and this comes from Greg Allman in a tweet, the last NFL Players Association salary cap update has the Bucs with $8.3 million in cap room. And now that Sweezy's cut, that gives them, I'm sorry, I said 4.8 a second ago. He says 4.6. So that gives them right around $13 million. 12.9. No. Wait.
Yeah,
$12.9 million that they have that they can play with, which if they don't use, can roll into next year, which will be nice.
It doesn't roll into next year.
Isn't that how that works?
No.
If you don't, isn't that what we learned like last year? Like if you don't use it this year, you can utilize it the next year.
I don't think it's a minutes plan. No, the salary cap is set each year. Obviously, it goes up every year, but it gets set, and then you just add up what you're paying the people on your roster, and whatever you have left, that's what you have left.
See, I don't know. I'm confused because that's the way I always thought it worked. But then I feel like it was last year. One of the things that we learned from who's that capologist, Greenberg or something. We heard like an interview with him where he said that the one if you don't use money this year, you can actually use it the following year or something like that.
I know it sounds a little familiar. We'll have to look into it.
Anyway,
maybe it's like a portion.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But either way,
who knows?
They've got $13 million left for this year. Possible they might look to bring in a new safety or something of that nature. I hear T.J. Ward is still available.
Yeah, there's a lot of safeties out there still available. I think only one safety of during the free agency period was signed. Any safety of note, at least somebody that was one of the top guys that was looking for a job. So
yeah,
but I found it a little interesting. And this is now you've joined the party. I feel like a lot of the outlets, the Buccaneer outlets, all said in an expected move. Mm-hmm. The Buccaneers released J.R. Sweezy. I never heard anybody, any of these outlets say J.R. Sweezy's going to be cut once he's cleared.
Right.
For her. And now that it happened, I expected that. I didn't see you say anything about it. Yeah. I didn't see you write anything about it. I didn't hear you say anything on the podcast about it. Mm-hmm. Now, I could have missed it, but I just thought it was kind of like,
We've been saying that for months now, though.
I don't remember you saying that, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. And like I said, I'm not trying to be like, we had it first and I told you so and we were right because, mm-hmm. We're probably a lot of what we do, we talk about the news and we speculate. So, most of our stuff is, might not be correct.
Right.
So, like I said, I'm not trying to rub it in his face. I was just kind of like, I don't remember you saying that it was expected.
Exactly. And, to what I said earlier of I really expected him to make it through camp. Yeah, that's true. It's just my speculation, our speculation was that they were saving it, just waiting for him to get clear so that they could cut him without having to pay all the money. It's what made the most sense, especially as you're starting to look at cap money. And, we had all this big, beautiful space of cap room. What was it, third most in the league or fifth most? I don't know. We were one of the top teams in the league. And
$90 million.
We used most of it. So it's quite a bit. So Sweezy's gone. Clearing the way.
He underperformed. He underperformed. Let's face it. Injuries did derail what he possibly could have been for the Buccaneers, but mm-hmm. it ended up no matter how you look at this or spin it as in Jason Light blew it or spin it as in hey was it Jason Light's fault he got injured after he was signed. Sweezy's time in Tampa will always be seen as a disappointment.
And rightly so. I mean, when you look at the end of how much I hate going back to money. When you look at the end of what he was actually able to produce and put on the field for us, it wasn't good.
No,
it wasn't much, and it wasn't good. He was here for 2 full seasons, and he played 10 games.
Yeah,
11 games, something like that. So, and he got paid quite a bit. His was one of the big free agent signings in terms of dollar amounts. It was supposed to be one of those hallmark free agent signings for Jason Light. And I will say this for Jason Light, and people will point to this and say that, oh, look, it's a bust. Jason Light doesn't know what he's doing, blah, 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 blah. One thing I like about Jason Light is when something's not working, he's not afraid to cut and move on.
Fish or cut bait.
Yep.
He's fond of saying.
Exactly. No risk it, no biscuit, and fish or cut baits. One of the two. And sometimes risk it and you still get no biscuit. So that's J.R. Sweezy. Any other thoughts on that? Kappa?
Not really. It was just
Kappa or Beninock?
Said. Oh, it's Beninock.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't mean Kappa's could not win the job, but if training camp opened tomorrow and they put the ones out there, it's Beninock at right guard.
So do we think that we assume now that the starting offensive line for the Buccaneers, left to right, is Donovan Smith, Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, Caleb Beninock, DeMar Dotson?
Or LeBron James could get in there.
I heard he's a free agent.
He is a free agent, so pay attention. You gotta connect the dots in this biz.
There you go.
And yeah.
All right.
But yes, you're correct. That's what it would be.
Yeah.
Those would be the 5 if everybody's healthy and we're opening day 1 of training camp.
Mm-hmm. So just remember, you heard it here on the Pewtercast first. And we're speculating.
Yeah. Hey, Justin Devon's going to be starting in one of the safeties. Book it, and then we take credit for it forever. Take credit.
We called it.
I think Gerald McCoy is going to be starting, right tackle, 3-tech this year.
Well, I mean, I think what we've said, right, it'd be JPP, Gerald McCoy, probably Bo Allen, and then Vin Curry.
JPP, Bo Allen, Gerald McCoy, Vin Curry.
Okay, well, whatever the order is.
So if that happens, we were the first to say that too. So
book
that.
There you go.
Obviously, pretty ridiculous.
All right.
Anyway,
how about the big news?
It was just nice to have one of those things work out where it was like, I think this might happen, and it did.
Yeah, we liked it. Speaking of things working out, or rather not really working out, let's get to the big news, kind of the big thing that everybody's talking about, certainly why most people are actually listening to this podcast. It is now official, folks. Now absolutely official. There's no more speculation. There's no more leaks. There's no more rumors. There's no more radio hosts saying, somebody's camp is doing something. Jameis Winston will be suspended for the first 3 games of the 2018 season. We'll talk about this, Brent, in what seems like an apparent deal that he and his lawyer struck with the NFL to reduce the games from 6 to 3. He won't appeal it. He'll have to seek some sort of a therapy or some sort of counseling or something like that.
Not true.
Okay, we'll get into that as well. And that's what we're doing. We have all the statements here, Ren. We've got them here.
Right.
We're going to go through them. Before we get to that, what I'm curious, Ren, what was your initial reaction when all this came out? You read the statements. You kind of got through things. Okay, can you kind of sum up like what those first few thoughts were that you had kind of coming out of all that?
I think it was exactly what I expected, and probably the best a Bucs fan could hope for. If you thought, like, if you're, let's say, you have no feelings about Jameis Winston at all, okay, and that's the arrow in the middle. If you're leaning towards, we'll call it just for this purpose, we'll say you're leaning towards the left. That means you're down on Jameis.
Okay.
And as that meter, goes further and further left, I guess when the meter it's pegged, grounded all the way to the left is, we never should have drafted Jameis. He's a bad person. Like, this was a terrible idea from the beginning. And then if you go to the right and peg it all the way down to the right, it's Jameis can do no wrong. Like, you're riding to die with Jameis. Anything you say against Jameis, you're a hater, you're a liar. He's never been, no charge ever been brought up against him, and these 2 allegations, so you can't say that he's this or that because in a court of law, he's innocent. I said, I think it was our last pod, I'm waiting for Jameis' statement.
Yep.
And then as it sort of got closer to the point of the statement where you knew it was going to come out because you knew, the ruling was eventually going to come down. And when the ruling did come down at 3 games, I was, okay, this statement's probably not going to satisfy me as a fan. But when you read it, it did exactly what it's supposed to do. Because if you're in Jameis Winston's camp, like, you're in serious trouble as far as your future goes. And what you have to do, if I were Jameis or, Jameis Winston's camp, is you have to secure your future for you and your family the best you can without admitting guilt for future possible litigation.
Sure.
And that's what that statement was, like, to a T.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll dive deep into that here in just a minute. My initial reaction was, well, damn.
When the 3 games came out?
Yeah, well, I mean, when the whole thing came out, when Jameis's statement came out, the Glazers / the Buccaneers statement came out, and I don't know if this is normal. The NFL, they came out with we notified Jameis today that he's being suspended 3 games for a violation of personal, like, there was that statement. And then there was a second statement that came out from the NFL, which was like a pretty detailed, quote unquote, detailed release of here's what we think he did, here's what it is, bam, here's how we went through this thing.
I think that was all one statement. Just the first one you saw was probably just,
like the summary of it or something. Yeah,
whatever. Summary of it or just partial. Yeah. Like, they didn't release 2 separate statements. there's one statement and people are taking bits and pieces about what they, want to report at the time on it.
Cool. Well, however, whatever it is, when I read the more detailed statement, I was just, well, okay, that's because here's the deal. Truth be told, as much as we say that as fans we root more for the name on the front of the jersey than we do the back of the jersey, I still root for the guy. Jameis is still my guy.
These are our, exactly. These are our guys.
He's still our guy, and I wanted him to be innocent. I don't know that he was going to be proven innocent. I wanted, I didn't think that the girl was lying at all. I was just really mostly hoping that it was a case of mistaken identity. And Jameis's big fault would be putting her in a bad situation by calling an Uber driver for somebody else and putting him in the car with her and letting them go off by themselves, and maybe even possibly letting this third guy say that he was Jameis, because that happens with Uber stuff. And I don't want to get into all that. I was kind of hoping that might be the situation.
Right, that was your best case scenario. Yeah, in your head you were hoping for.
I didn't think that was what it was going to be. I really didn't, but I was kind of hoping. And when it all came down, I went, damn. It just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. But we have all the statements, all the information that we're going to get, I think, is now in. Jameis hasn't fully blatantly admitted guilt, but taking everything into account, there's little room for doubt that he did it, I guess, and we'll get into that. And I got to tell you, Ren, everyone from the talking national pundits to our local media guys and girls, to our fellow fans commenting on social media, everybody's pointing fingers. And as you said, there's this spectrum, of pro Winston, anti Winston,
there's everybody's in the middle.
Yeah, it's kind of one or the other. Everyone's got something to say. Some people are saying that a lot of people are saying 3 games isn't enough. In fact, I think I saw there was a poll that ran by the Tampa Bay Times where 52% of the people, or 51, something like that, more than half, said 3 games is not enough, because they were asking the question of, was this the right punishment?
Yeah, especially if 6 games is the rule.
Right.
If it's written, it's like if the NFL finds you guilty of, let's see, NFL personal conduct policy. And I'm not sure. It's just I'm trying to find the right words. Anyway, if the NFL finds you guilty of a sexual case and their NFL personal conduct policy, it's automatic 6 games.
Right.
And then it comes out, like you said, it's 3, and people are like, and a lot of people, I shouldn't say people, a lot of, and I am going to say people, not fans, because, a lot of these people that are chiming in aren't fans of the Buccaneers.
Right.
Are saying, like, what gives? Like, hey, it's like, why does this guy,
why does he get a pass?
With all his baggage, like, why is he getting half of what it says the rule is,
So there's that.
Seen a lot of that.
Yeah. There are some people that say Jameis should be just cashiered out of the league. Some people, I've even seen a few, not a ton, but I have seen a few say that he should go to jail over this. And then others, as you say, that are still kind of on the other side that are like, well, at least he didn't do more to her. He stopped when she said no.
And no charge has been brought up.
Yeah, no charge has been brought up. The league shouldn't do anything. He can't be proven. It can't be proven, so you can't suspend him for anything. So, all of that said, Ren, why don't we kind of go through this? I know you certainly had some thoughts as we were going through. Which statement would you like to start with? Because we'll just kind of go through these one by one.
Well, I think we should start with Kate, her statement, her original statement.
Okay.
Or her original.
Oh, this is like from the BuzzFeed article you're talking about.
The BuzzFeed article. Okay. Do you have that?
Not pulled up. No, I have her statement that she released after all this came out, but
let me get that real quick.
Okay.
I had it up, but for some reason I closed it. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to approach this as Jameis. I'm going to be answering these questions and talking about these statements as someone in Jameis Winston's camp. I'm going to approach it as if I was Jameis Winston's lawyer and defending Jameis Winston to the NFL. Now, the reason I'm doing this, and I want to stress this, this isn't about what I believe happened or what I didn't believe happened. What if I believe where my needle falls on the spectrum I talked about? That is not up for debate this evening. What I want to do is sort of break down what we know as fans through these statements, and then fit everyone's story together. And at the end, let's see where we are.
Okay.
Okay. So
because
I like to,
and I'll say that I certainly have I certainly have an opinion upon what we should do or where we should go with this, or was this enough, and all of that. So I'll save that for the end, and I'll be interested to see if we come together here at the end. So, all right. Well, I have the article here. This is the original BuzzFeed article that came out on, it was dated November 17th, 2017. The title of it is, "The NFL is investigating Jameis Winston for allegedly groping an Uber driver in 2016. Now, I'm not going to read the entire article here, Ren, but these are the quotes kind of coming from Kate, the female Uber driver.
If you want to read the entire article, they're not hard to find.
Right. Yeah, you guys can definitely Google that. But she says that she was hailed to a lively party in downtown Scottsdale, Arizona, to pick up a passenger about 2 a.m. She told them that a small group of men excitedly told her she would be chauffeuring someone famous, and that it was 2013 Heisman Trophy winner and quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jameis Winston. She says very specifically the men placed him in the front seat and that he was the only passenger. She started driving, and right away he was behaving poorly by shouting homophobic slurs at pedestrians, and
in part.
And
so
yeah, he was shouting in part by homophobic slurs at pedestrians. Right. He then asked to stop for food. They were waiting in line at the drive-thru of Los Bitos Mexican food when, here's what she says, "He reached over and he just grabbed my crotch," Kate said, alleging that Winston held his hand there for about 3 to 5 seconds and removed it only after she looked up in shock, saying, "What's up with that?"
Okay, this is where I first, as Jameis's defense team, I sort of step in. Now, this is the phrase that has been used all through social media. Okay, when we talk about Winston, when people are talking about it, and not being, like polite, use the quote. He grabbed her. If you're on TV, you use other different words, but the word "grabbed" is always used. Now, it is in quotes because that's what she told BuzzFeed. Right. But I would like for you to go over what her official Uber report said.
Yeah. So in the same article are 2 screenshots. One is her official Uber report to them, where he says the rider reached over and put his fingers on my crotch. It wasn't accidental, and it was only for a very brief moment. It wasn't my stomach.
His fingers.
Yeah,
put his
fingers on her crotch.
Right.
And then later in a text to a friend, she said, "I was getting food for him at a drive-thru, and he totally touched my effing crotch, like grazed his fingers over my pants while we were waiting."
Okay. Now, once again, I want to remind our listeners, I am not standing up for Winston. I am not saying what he did is okay. What I want to point out here, as playing the part of Winston's defense attorney, is that everyone's using the word grabbed, but her initial statement is grazed and placed fingers on, which in legalese and when it goes to court, because we'll get there, I believe this is eventually going to become a civil suit, there is a huge difference, just like there is a difference from grabbing someone's shoulder or placing your hand on someone's shoulder.
Okay. Now, I do have to ask, Ren. I got to ask, why are we going through this exercise? Why are we playing defense for Jameis?
Because I feel like it's there's no middle ground that's out there. Like no one's reporting there, and I'm not yelling at anybody for it. I'm not saying like the Times or Joe Buck's fan or Pewter Report or Roy Cummings or whoever. I'm just saying that these are the facts that we have. Okay. Let's have a discussion from Jameis' side because we're Bucs fans, and after we're a Bucs
podcast here. So,
yeah. So we take once again. I am not defending Jameis. Like right now, as we sit here, at this point in the pod, like this is brand new information. We don't know if he did it or not. Okay. I'm not. And once again, if he did, I'm not jumping to his rescue. The reason I'm doing this, it helps people will begin to understand, I think, why it is only 3 games.
Okay.
And certain language that come in later statements, why it's said that way, and people are upset about, it did or did not say these things.
Okay.
So with this one, I just want to point out that everyone, at least, I mean everyone, it's basically my Twitter timeline. That's my little slice of the universe where I get my news. Everyone's using this word grabbed her crotch, and here on ESPN, grabbed her crotch. But her official statement is placed fingers on it and grazed it for an extended amount of time. I don't want to say a few seconds. That makes it sound like it's just a few seconds. But he placed it for an extended amount of time.
Fair enough. All right.
Now we know that. Okay. So now we have that. So the next thing in the timeline would be Jameis Winston's instances. Jameis's original statement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that one?
Pause.
I have it. I can just read it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I do. Okay. I don't have it pulled up. I think I like you a minute ago just closed the window.
So this is Jameis's original statement when the BuzzFeed article came out, and this was his immediate response. Quote, a news organization has published a story about me regarding an alleged incident involving a female Uber driver from approximately 2 years ago. Fact. The story falsely accuses me of making inappropriate contact with this driver. Don't know if that's fact. I believe the driver was confused as to the number of passengers in the car and who was sitting next to her. Also don't know if that's fact. This accusation is false, maybe, and given the nature of the allegations and increased awareness and consideration of these types of matters, I am addressing the false report immediately. Fact. At the time of the alleged incident, I denied the allegations to Uber, yet they still decided to suspend my account. Close quotes. Also, that last sentence is fact. I really don't have a lot to talk about as far as being on the Jameis side on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should, I sort of gave my comments about, well, you don't know if that's true. That's true. We don't know if that's true. That's true. So I think we should jump to the NFL statement.
Okay. This is the one post, the one dealing out the suspension.
This is it.
Right. Okay.
All right. This is it. This is one that gave suspension. Do you have that one?
I do.
Could you please
do you want me to read it? I'll read it.
Yeah, I want you to be able to talk.
Yeah. Gee, thanks. Here's what it says. It says, Jameis Winston of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was notified by NFL Special Counsel for Conduct Todd Jones that he has been suspended without pay for the Buccaneers' first 3 regular season games for a violation of the NFL personal conduct policy. In November of 2017, the NFL learned of an incident involving Winston and a rideshare service driver that had taken place in March of 2016 in Scottsdale, Arizona. The incident, which had been immediately reported by the driver to her employer, which resulted in Winston's removal from the ride-sharing platform, was also publicly reported last November. The league promptly initiated a comprehensive investigation that included interviews with several persons, including the driver, Winston, and others with relevant information.
Right.
The league also examined an extensive amount of other evidence, including telephone records, business records, data from electronic devices, and other communications. Based on the investigation, the NFL found that Winston had violated the NFL personal conduct policy, which allows for discipline to be imposed even when criminal charges are not present.
Now, that's the killer. Me not speaking as Winston's lawyer, because as you were saying earlier, as Bucs fans, we were hoping, like we weren't calling Kate, which everyone calls her, a liar. We were just hoping that the things weren't true. And a lot of us were hanging on to the fact that he could be in trouble for not reporting it.
Mm-hmm.
But this clearly states that that's not the case. He's not being punished, or I shouldn't say punished. He's not a child. He's not being suspended for 3 games because he didn't report.
Right.
It says he has found that Winston had violated the NFL personal conduct policy.
Right. And the statement then goes on to actually define that even more when he says, in his letter advising Winston of the suspension, Jones states that after a full consideration of the record, including a meeting with Winston and his representatives, a written submission by his attorneys, and that the driver's account of the incident was consistent and credible. As a result, the investigation has concluded that Winston violated the personal conduct policy by touching the driver in an inappropriate and sexual manner without her consent, and that disciplinary action was necessary and appropriate. So they're extremely clear of what the personal, at least from the NFL's standpoint, what the personal conduct policy violation is.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's not failure to report.
It is definitely not failure to report, but it is just as a talking point. It is vague. The personal conduct policy is vague. By touching the driver in an inappropriate and sexual manner, what does that mean?
Right.
Without her consent. But I think the biggest thing you can take out of this paragraph is, Winston has represented in written submissions by attorney that the driver's account of the incident was consistent and credible, which means she's a credible witness. They didn't find any holes in her story.
Right.
There wasn't any, oh, yeah, you're right, but this. Right now, through the NFL statement, we got 2 paragraphs to go. It's not looking good for, it's not looking good for Jameis.
Yeah, and to this, I am not going to sit here and say, no, Jameis didn't do it. I'm not even going to sit here and say, nobody really knows what happened. But this is one of those things, like if I'm looking at this thoroughly, in my head what I'm thinking is look, the truth is the only 2 people who know what happened in that car that night is Jameis and the driver. There is no video or photographic evidence to show us what happened. So all we can do is go off of the word of these 2 people.
Right.
And what they're saying is her account of the incident was consistent, meaning she didn't change her story a bunch.
Right.
And it's credible. Like we can believe her.
Right.
But there's that other side of saying, but we can't prove it.
Right.
We can believe her, she's a credible witness. We have no proof.
Correct.
But we can believe her, So that's what I read into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You want me to read the last little bit? It says,
let's finish up.
As part of the discipline, Winston is also required to obtain a clinical evaluation and fully cooperate in any recommended program of therapeutic intervention. A failure to either obtain the evaluation or to cooperate with treatment will result in further discipline. In addition, a future violation of the personal conduct policy will result in more substantial benefit and more substantial discipline, including a potential ban from the NFL. Winston has advised.
That's strong wording.
Yes,
that's strong. It's like this is your last chance, son.
Yeah,
exactly. You are like
you're on notice.
There's another something like this. Like not it's not only a year. Like it's not. We may skip the next step with you, and you just may be banned from the NFL.
Right. It says Winston has advised the league office that he accepts the discipline. His suspension, therefore, will take effect as of the final roster reduction on September 1st, and he will be eligible to return on September 25th following the Buccaneers game against the Steelers. Winston may participate in all club's preseason activities, including games.
What's up with the triple hashtags at the bottom? Do you know what that means? I don't either. # triple hashtag. Okay, so there's the official statement from the NFL suspending Jameis Winston. All right? Just for because the Buccaneers / the Glazers did actually put out a statement, but it's very short, brief, and totally canned, but you shouldn't expect any more. I'm just going to go ahead and read it real quick. Okay, Buccaneers statement on Jameis Winston. Quote, all members of our organization are expected to conduct themselves in accordance with personal conduct policy of the NFL. We are disappointed that Jameis put himself in a position that he has been found to violate the policy and accept today's decision by the commissioner. Now, the only really important part about that is they didn't lay guilt on Jameis either. It was like, yeah, this stinks. We're disappointed that Jameis put himself in a position that had been found to violate the policy, which is the personal conduct policy of the NFL, which of course is extremely vague. You really can't nail that down. Now, the big one, we have Jameis Winston's statement, because this thing is crafted very well and it leaves room for Winston's initial statement to be true.
Okay.
So if you will please, Brent.
Okay.
Start off with Jameis's official statement after the 3-game suspension came down from the NFL.
Yay, I get to talk some more.
Yay.
It says this. This is from Jameis Winston.
Called being a good host, Brent. Called being a good host.
It says this from Jameis Winston. The NFL informed me today that I will be suspended for the first 3 games of the season. First and foremost, I would like to say I am sorry to the Uber driver for the position I put you in. It is yes.
That's not admitting guilt. That's a position I put you in, which at this point, if you're reading this, could be the position I put you in is that you felt uncomfortable. You know, not that I was in the car by myself, not that I was drunk, not that I groped you or were inappropriate with you. It could be a whole wide variety of things. So it's not admission of guilt. What it is, it's an apology without saying you did it.
Says it is uncharacteristic of me, and I genuinely apologize. In the last
sincerity, always smart.
Yep. In the past 2.5 years, my life has been filled with experiences, opportunities, and events that have helped me grow, mature, and learn.
Okay. Sorry, continue.
Including the fact that I have eliminated alcohol from my life.
All right. So what this is saying is I'm not the same person I was 2.5 years ago, because it was almost 2 years when the initial BuzzFeed report came out. It's been 8-9 months since then. So now we're, like he says, 2.5 years. And that this is the golden line for Jameis Winston and be able to still shed a doubt upon this whole situation, at least Kate's side of the story, including the fact that I have limited alcohol from my life. Now, what does that mean to you, Brent? When you read that, what rolled through your head?
To me, that says that he admits that he was drunk that night. Honestly, my thought was, I wonder if he even realizes, like, if he even remembers what happened. Like, if he was so drunk that he was slurring his speech and yelling, I've seen people that drunk,
blackout drunk.
Yeah, and they're they're slouched over a little bit, and I could see a situation where he doesn't actually remember any of that happening. He doesn't remember being alone in the Uber with her. Not that this excuses it. I want to be super clear with that. But
jump on in, Brent.
Because here, I think ultimately here's what I think this says. He admits that he was drinking that night, and he might not actually know what happened.
Exactly.
That's what this says to me. Possibly.
That's what yes, and this is why the line's in here. And you're right. A couple of reasons. One, the reason it's in here, it prevents Jameis Winston from ever having to talk about this again. Like, Jameis is not going to talk about this again. Next time he gets in front of the press, they're going to ask him about it, but he's going to go, I've said all I need to say in my press release, or he could say that, or he could say, there might be possible litigations down the road, and my lawyer has advised me not to talk about this. And he's going to ride that because, from the way I understand it, in Arizona law, Kate has 7 years to bring a civil suit against Jameis Winston. So by the time, let's say Jameis Winston stays squeaky clean the rest of the time and goes on to be, and gets another contract with the Buccaneers, who really, as far as this conversation, doesn't matter the way his career goes. Another, what's that? 4.5 years from now, no one's going to ask him about it. Or if there is a civil case and it gets settled, either way, there's going to be some sort of, like, what do you call it? Like a hush clause from either side, and he won't be able to talk about it. Right. So this is the only time we're going to hear from Jameis Winston. So this is why this line of alcohol has to be in there, because this sheds some validity to his original statement, which is, I'm just going to go back. I believe the driver was confused as the number of passengers in the car was who's sitting next to her. Mm-hmm. Now, what we haven't talked about is, oh God, what's that guy's name?
Darby and Banks.
Banks, thank you. Banks came out and said, and no one's disputed this at all. Mm-hmm. Banks came out and said that the three of them went to a club with a female Uber driver. Mm-hmm. Jameis got drunk or was being obnoxious or whatever. Mm-hmm. They decided to stick him in a cab with another female Uber driver all by himself and send him on his way. Mm-hmm. When he says, I believe the driver was confused to a number of passengers in the car who was sitting next to her, Jameis can claim that he was talking about the first ride.
Sure.
Because if you put the alcohol in here, it also makes people think, or one think, or me think, that alcohol is a problem for him. So I've eliminated this problem from my life, which makes me act this way towards women possibly, but I didn't say that. So now when he says, let me get back to this, when he says that she's confused, it leaves a door open to, like you said, I don't remember the second ride at all. Mm-hmm. So when I said my first statement, I thought they were talking about the first ride because I didn't even know that I had a second ride. I didn't even know, almost done. Yeah. I didn't even know that I went in a second Uber until you showed me the records once this NFL investigation started.
Right.
And that's why that line's in there, because he can, if he has to in court, he can. It still doesn't make him a liar in the first statement.
Mm-hmm. And I might even go a step beyond that, Ren, because I think I tend to be a little more maybe altruistic with some of this stuff.
I don't know what that means.
A little more, you might say, naive, a little more believing, a little more. This isn't just for court's sake. Like,
no.
You know what I mean?
This is all this is for.
Well, but I mean, but if all of that is true, if all of this comes down, okay, because I think I know what you're doing. You're putting together a timeline, a story here of this allegation comes out. Jameis immediately hears it and thinks to himself, "No, I was in an Uber. Darby and Banks were there. I was sitting in the back seat. I think she's confused."
Right.
And she might have been uncomfortable because there was three football players. That might have made her uncomfortable or something. So I'm sorry for that, but I didn't do anything. And then, as you say, the investigation goes on, and Jameis all of a sudden goes, "Crap, maybe I did do it."
Oh
crap,
Shaggy?
I don't remember. Well,
what
maybe,
other Uber ride?
Yeah, and so he puts this out there, and he can sit back and say, "Well, crap, maybe I did get that drunk. Apparently, I did, because you know what? I don't actually remember how I got from the club back to the hotel." I mean, right. Maybe. Okay, like so what you're saying, all that, because here's why I think that's important, particularly as we relate this back to the fan response. Okay, forget court. Let's talk about the court of public opinion. What I've heard from so many people is, "Oh, Jameis lied." Either he lied, he lied by telling us an outright lie, or he lied by omission because he never told us about the second Uber ride.
Right, and he's
getting crucified for that. Like, people are like, "Oh, he lied. Now we can't trust him." And there are media members who are talking about that. Yeah,
because there's a third option, and nationally, and some of the guys locally aren't even bringing that up. It's either, like you said, he either lied or he admitted, and omitting the second Uber ride is just as bad as like lying. Mm-hmm. But with this line,
right now, hold on, time, because let me add on to that.
Sure.
He lied in a statement that he issued less than 24 hours after the initial. That, like, it was his initial statement of, "Oh, they did." Right. No, I didn't do it at all. Oh, wait a minute. Let me think about this for a little bit. Or let's be presented with well, shoot. Because we have not heard word one from Jameis about this particular thing since his initial statement less than 24 hours after the allegation came out.
Right.
Just let's be clear on that. Like, and I don't know about you, but they're
about it because he couldn't.
Right.
Because NFL is under litigation.
Right.
Now he can't because there might be future litigation. And in the future, he can't because either it's going to be so far down the road no one cares, or when the case if there is a case, which I believe there will be, gets settled, there's going to be a hush. Like this is it. This is all you're going to hear from Jameis 2 times.
Okay.
And he covers his butt in the second statement for what has found to be untruthful in the first.
I will tell you, Ren. Remember my initial response to this whole thing was well, damn, because I wanted my guy to be innocent. Mm-hmm. Even if he's not innocent, and for the sake of the conversation, let's assume he's not. Let's assume that all of this is true and he did it.
I don't think he's innocent.
Do what?
I don't think he's innocent.
I don't either.
I think maybe he didn't remember, but I believe Kate's story 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm 100% with you on that. And I'm 100% with Kate on that. But this makes a whole lot more sense to me. And I'm not that cynical of a person. I'm really not. I tend to take things for face value, and I tend not to read into them that much. But because this whole thing makes sense of the allegation happens, he makes an initial statement saying, "No, I didn't do it because I remember these other guys and I wasn't even sitting up front." Investigation happens.
Which is true if you're talking about the first Uber ride.
Right. Investigation happens. He realizes he did it. And now he's saying, he didn't actually say that he did it, but he says,
I'm sorry.
He says, "I'm sorry. It was uncharacteristic of me. And I really apologize. I am not the same person today that I was then. And as a part of that, I have eliminated alcohol from my life."
That's right.
And I'm,
that's why it's there.
Yeah. So it's and the idea being that he really didn't even know. He didn't even know.
It doesn't matter if he knew. So you're trying to get into the part that you're bringing back in, like the fan part. It doesn't, like for me and what my conversation. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you how this is breaking down legally from the side of like me being in Jameis Winston's camp. Like this is why these words say this.
Right. But see, I'm bringing the other side of because there's legal side, but what we're dealing with and what we see in social media and what you and I have to deal with is, for the people that we interact with, that's not legal. That's people. That's public opinion,
True.
And that's kind of where I'm sitting back going, I in no way, shape, or form does this mitigate or deny or say anything against Kate or her story. And what happened, and I don't know that we can be any clearer. What happened to her was wrong, and was abhorrent, and should never have happened, and that's just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, we can't stress that enough. But if you are, right side of the needle, Jameis, like I talked about the earlier spectrum, right down the middle, and the right side is the pro Jameis. This is a line of thinking that makes you feel as best as possible you can about the situation. Mm-hmm. So and that's that's what that's Jameis's team, his lawyers. That's their job. So the next paragraph.
He just says, "I know I have to hold myself to a higher." It's Jameis speak, right? "I know I have to hold myself to a higher standard on and off the field, and I have a responsibility to my family, my community, and my teammates to live above the platform which God has given me. I apologize to my teammates, the Bucs organization, and fans for letting them down and for not being out there for the first 3 games of the season." Mm-hmm. Now, this is the line that is always curious to me ever since I read this. "Although I am disappointed in the NFL's decision, I understand the NFL's process, and I embrace this as an opportunity to take advantage of the resources available to help me achieve the goals that I have for my success. I now look forward to putting this behind me."
For myself.
Yeah. "I now look forward to putting this behind me and will continue to work hard every day to be a positive influence in the community and be the best person, teammate, and leader I can be."
Right. So this is at the beginning where you said, because there is a report, and I think it's true, it hasn't been refuted, that it's 3 games.
Uh-huh.
Now, we can talk about, that's a deal between Jameis's lawyers, the NFL, and the NFLPA, the NFL Players Association, basically the NFL union, got together and, you can say, well, if you don't appeal, you get 3 games. Or whatever, however it got worked out to 3 games, the reason why the NFL and the Players, obviously the Players Association wants to get cut down because that's their job to protect their players. Mm-hmm. The NFL has to, punish them, but they want to have this drag out through the entire season. So however
especially,
you want,
by the way, especially after the Tom Brady thing that took an entire season chewed up, the Ezekiel Elliott thing last year, which took
took all off season and went into, I think, the first 4, 5, 6 games of the regular season before he got suspended.
And then when Goodell's contract came up this last year, Jerry Jones, he
was out for blood.
Yeah, he went after Goodell, and much to his chagrin, Goodell stayed and the chagrin of many a Buck fan or many a NFL fans. He is still the commissioner, but after all of that, you can see the NFL really doesn't want to have a lengthy appeal process.
Right.
Yeah.
You can make that, but no one can prove that. Think about it. But that's sort of the general thinking about everybody, why it's 3 games instead of 6 games. But it can go back up to 6 games. And what you said at the beginning, where I said that's untrue, was counseling.
Right.
And that's where this line, I think you were going with. Yeah. I understand the NFL's process. I embrace the opportunity to take advantage of the resources available to me to help me achieve my goals that I've set for myself.
That is not the line I was talking about, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is actually a second line that I find very interesting. But the first one is, I am disappointed in the NFL's decision.
Why is that surprising to you?
Because what that says to me
is the NFL's wrong.
Is that the NFL's wrong. That they shouldn't have made this decision in the first place. Right.
Because this is Brent. I know you're taking the fan side of it. This is a document that's going to be put in court when the civil suit comes against them. That's why it's there.
Fair enough.
It's the second step of saying, it's basically saying I've been wrongly accused. But it's not saying I'm wrongly accused. It's saying, all right, guys, well, I don't like it, but I'll take it.
Yeah, they can't prove it, but I'll accept it.
It's like, okay, really I get it. It's a business, and you guys got your process, but I'm really disappointed. Why are you disappointed? Because you can just go from there.
Right.
Now, I think a lot of people, the logical jump for the next sentence, which I jumped ahead and I apologize about advantage of the resources available.
It is an interesting sentence. I don't want to negate that because I do find it very interesting. But yeah.
When the report first came out, is it 3 games or is it 6 games? Like, why? And then the report came out right after that was it could go back up to 6. I think a lot of people automatically jumped and were saying that, it must be some type of counseling or rehab or sensitivity course. I think that makes the most logical sense. But
that's not what the NFL statement says, though.
That's correct. But it has been put out there that it's a possibility. Actually, it does kind of say that in the NFL statement.
Well, no, what the NFL statement says is he is required to obtain a clinical evaluation and then cooperate with whatever they say to do. That's basically what it says. So, Jameis, and my question is, what is this clinical evaluation? Is this a mental thing? Is this alcohol abuse? Is that what are they looking to evaluate? And that's the thing that I don't know, because what the statement says he has to do is he has to obtain some sort of an evaluation, or whatever that means, and then he has to cooperate with whatever they recommend. And his failure to do either one of those two things will push this back up to 6 games.
Yes. Well, yeah. In so many words, a result in future discipline. Yeah. The exact quote is, as part of the discipline, Winston is also required to obtain a clinical evaluation, just like you said, and fully cooperate in any recommended program of therapeutic intervention.
Yeah.
A failure to either obtain the evaluation, which means either you don't go to the class, or to cooperate with the treatment, and then what that means, like you said, do what they tell you to do, will result in further discipline. Like you said, go back up to 6 games. So yeah, that's so that's him. That line is me taking responsibility for my punishment.
Yeah,
is what that line is.
I look forward to the opportunity to take advantage of the resources available to me, which is hey, if I have a problem with alcohol, I want to get off alcohol. I look forward to taking advantage of this resource, this clinical evaluation and therapeutic intervention, whatever that is, to help him achieve the goals that he has for himself. I would hope, as he states earlier, he has eliminated alcohol from his life. I heard earlier on, I want to say it was the Pewter Nation podcast. I think it was Mark Cook was telling a story about how this past offseason, they were at like a wedding or something like that, and somebody offered Jameis a drink, and he was overheard saying,
I actually saw this.
No, I don't drink anymore.
I actually saw this, and when I heard it, my ears sort of perked up. Like, I saw it. Like, I remember watching it. Mark Cook talked about it, and Lita Kemper also talked about it on Ira's pod, and they had heard it from somebody else. But I saw it. Yeah. He was at Topgolf. And it was family, and there was a lot of family there, and he was at Topgolf, and they were doing sort of this dance-off thing. Now, I'm not 100% how Instagram works, because I don't think I've ever posted anything on Instagram. I have Instagram to follow Buccaneers players, so I can sort of get an inside look about what's going on. But during one of these dance-off things, and this is the best explanation I've heard, so I'm going to use it as well, is that you can hear in the background, which logically you would think as a bartender saying, what can I get you to drink? And as Jameis is holding the phone and showing this dance off and having a good time with his family, he just casually looks over his shoulder, and it's off camera, but he's holding the camera so you can hear it. He goes, yeah, I don't drink.
Cool. Okay.
Or I don't drink alcohol, or I don't drink anymore, or something like that. And at the time I was like, I'm like, I didn't know that about Jameis Winston. No big deal. Well, now all of a sudden it is a big deal.
Right. So, and like I said, they want him to have a clinical evaluation and participate in whatever intervention. In my mind, what that probably means, clinical evaluation is to be evaluated for potential alcoholism. That's what it's,
Do you think it's a sensitivity class as well?
I wouldn't say that that's clinical evaluation.
That's a good point.
Because the recommended therapeutic intervention ostensibly is going to come out of the evaluation. Now, if as part of the evaluation they want him to go to sensitivity training, then that would be the other side. But to me, that's what it says is they want him to go be evaluated for alcoholism, and then either get checked into rehab or go to AA every day. Maybe twice a day, like whatever that is, whatever it takes for him to get out of it. And you kind of actually hope that he's already taken those steps. He's already done, he's been sober for however long at this point. And
right. But some people can just put down the drink. Like, this isn't good for me. This makes me do stupid stuff. Sort of going back to, the Pewter Nation podcast, what Mark Cook said, this makes me want to fight everybody in the bar. This makes me think that, every girl in the world loves me, wants me. This makes me too flirty. So, but there's some people that can just put it down. So I think that's what this evaluation is. Will be exactly where he's at, and there'll be recommended treatment. Yeah. Now, I worked in the restaurant business forever. So there's lots of alcohol. There's lots of people that are in AA that are or have been or are going to, and quite frankly, because a lot of people get DUIs because they don't get off work till late, which usually means if they're going to go out for a drink, they're usually closing the bar. They're the only ones on the road. They've had there's the percentages go way up after like 1 at night if you've been drinking that you're going to get popped, especially in the state of Florida. So if you go and get evaluated to be put into a program like AA, you're going. Like, you don't go in there, and even if you say, if there's a script to say these are all the perfect things you can say to not go, like this is what the counselor's looking for, all these answers, even if you give them all, you're still going. So he's going to be in some. If what we're talking about is some type of alcoholic program, right? He's going to have to go through it no matter what, right? I think, in my opinion. But sort of finish this sentence off. I'm disappointed in what the NFL's decision means. Basically means I didn't do it. I understand the process, but I understand the way you guys do things. It's not the way. It's not the way we do it in court.
See, now I'm disappointed in the NFL's decision. To me, says it's not I didn't do it. I'm not confessing to this. I'm not admitting that I did it, which I think is different than what you're saying there.
Agreed, and I like your answer better.
Yeah,
I understand the NFL's process. Okay, you got a certain way of doing things. That's not the way you do it in the court of law, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I embrace this opportunity to take advantage of the resources available to help me achieve the goals that I have for myself, which means, one, I've already taken steps to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I'm taking my medicine. And three, I'm going to hit the ground running and raring to go. Whatever you guys want to put in front of me, I'm going to hit it full bore. Here we go. No complaining, no bitching, no whining, no moaning. Like, here we go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what sort of that section.
Which, if I can put the fanboy side on with this,
sure,
that is the kind of response you want from a guy who's been caught, so to speak. You want the guy to sit back and say, "Listen, I'm not going to fight this. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to do what I need to do to get over this and come back and be a better person."
Right.
Like that is the kind of response that you want.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So.
And for the final line, I look forward to putting this behind me, which means I'm not going to talk about it ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And I will continue to work hard every day to be a positive influence in my community and the best person, teammate, and leader I can be. Ends with basically it ends with, hey, I'm human, but I'm going to do my best to be the positive influence, be a plus to the community.
Right.
To the Buccaneers organization, to my teammates, to the fans. And so it's just, I just feel like this side of the conversation hasn't been talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wanted to bring this up and talk about it. Maybe the best way to go about it wasn't like, I'm going to be talking from Jameis' side. But I knew that in this conversation, there would be points where I'd be defending Jameis,
mm-hmm.
and there would be points where I would say, okay, I can understand why you're mad about this, but this is why he had to say it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he had to say it this way is because of our last bit of, press release we got from Kate.
Yep.
And we haven't heard a word from Kate since the BuzzFeed
mm-hmm.
Initial article.
Mm-hmm.
As many of you probably know, she hired the same lawyer that the girl who accused Jameis Winston of rape in college. This is Kate's official statement that was given to the same reporter who did the initial interview with her from BuzzFeed.
Mm-hmm.
So she gave this statement to
Laurie NOY or something like that.
I'm sorry. I can't pronounce it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to give you credit. Here it is. I'm glad to see the NFL discipline Jameis Winston. I do appreciate his apology, even though it needs some work, which means
you didn't actually confess to it.
Yeah, you didn't confess to it. I would like to publicly acknowledge the NFL investigators, particularly Lisa Farrell.
I don't know.
And John, I should let you read this. John Lanarelli. Lanarelli, thank you. I'm terrible. For their kind professionalism and thorough investigation. Now, this is why this is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're planning on filing a civil suit down the road from Jameis Winston,
mm-hmm.
which I want to point out in her original statement to BuzzFeed was, and this was before she lawyered up, was she's not looking for any money. Like
mm-hmm.
it was in that article was like the reason I'm saying this is because I feel I've been empowered by this Me Too movement, and I think that it's my responsibility to say something because if I say something and it might save someone else down the road mm-hmm. from another person or even Jameis Winston, which, is well within her right, and I think she should have. But what makes this, like I said, once again, is this investigation of Jameis Winston is a dry run for her civil case. Jameis Winston has now been found guilty in the court of public opinion and the court of the NFL. She got a free trial run for her future civil case. So what she's doing here with this, I publicly acknowledges the NFL investigation and lauding the NFL and naming some people who might, hey, by the way, be called up in trial in her civil case, be called to the stand, is saying, hey, these two people did it right. These two people got it right. I'm applauding the NFL. She doesn't applaud their 3-game decision. She doesn't applaud the amount of games. She applauds their hard work, which at the end of the day is we found Jameis Winston guilty. Next paragraph. My experience should highlight the importance of believing women when they have the courage to come forward about sexual assault. Perhaps that night could have been prevented if others had been believed before me. Now that is a veiled shot at Jameis and his rape charge. And then finally she finishes, Mr. Winston once said, quote, girls should be silent, polite, and gentle, unquote. I disagree. Now that is a shot at his character. But what he said at the middle school. And then she finished it off with #MeToo. Now the tone of that is, what it sounds like is she doesn't accept his explanation is what it is. What this is her lawyer's response through her as the first salvo going forward in her civil case.
Yeah.
First he thanks him, like stand-upish, just like Jameis. You're stand-upish in the first paragraph. Hey, I really appreciate your apology. Oh, by the way, it wasn't very good. Right. Then I found you guilty. I would like to say thank you to these people. And then she goes into a veiled shot at, well, perhaps that night could have been prevented if others had been believed before me, such as
Erica Kinsman.
I didn't even know her name, but yes, that's exactly who I'm talking about. And then she ends it off with another really stupid thing Jameis said, girls should be silent, polite, and gentle. And then she goes, I disagree with that. So she ends it with a character shot and then slaps the Me, I shouldn't say slaps, that's not fair. It puts the Me Too hashtag movement on the bottom. Make no doubt about it. This is the opening salvo. She's tearing down his public statement with her public statement as they go full steam ahead in the civil court. That's what I got.
So boil this all down.
Boil it all down.
As your personal opinion. Yeah, your personal opinion on
what I think happened.
No, I don't even want to know what you think happened. Is the does the punishment fit the crime? Because the big question now is not necessarily what happened. The big question now is where do we go from here? And how do you think we as fans should respond? How should the organization respond? And what should be done with Jameis?
I'm not going to try to tell anybody how they should respond as a fan. That's kind of why I wanted to do this as just, under the guise of someone just looking at the facts and trying to present it as a court case. I was trying to take all emotion out of it. I'm not going to. I may disagree with your opinion of this particular instance or suspension or case or situation, whatever you want to call it, and I might agree with it, but I might not agree with, once again, the severity of where you fall on that spectrum. So I'm not going to tell anybody what they should think, and I'm not going to argue with anybody, in social media about how you're wrong, and I'm just going to keep scrolling because it's one of those things. There's a reason why people, you don't talk about religion or politics in a bar,
right?
Because when you talk about religion or politics, you're not really talking about religion or politics. You're talking your religion and your politics at someone else. And they're talking their religion and their politics at you. You're not trying to have a discussion. You're trying to change the other person's mind is what you're doing. And then you pour alcohol on it. And I feel like this situation
People have already made up their mind.
And you're not going to change it.
And
you're not.
Right.
You're just not going to change it. So, I mean, and I don't even think it's my place to, because to be honest, I'm still not sure where exactly on that spectrum I come down on.
Right.
You know, it's close to the middle.
Sure.
But I don't know where yet exactly.
So with that said, I'll kind of give you my wrap, because it actually leads right. It comes right off of what you're just saying there. Here are my thoughts on the whole thing. Ren, you probably have gathered this about me over the last year and a half of us doing this show together. And those of you who've been listening, I am a person who is a big believer in redemption and multiple chances and people coming back from making really bad choices.
Forgiveness.
Yes. I am also a very big believer in justice. And my question at this point, everything said, yeah, he probably did it, whether he realized he was doing it or not. Yes, he stopped when she asked him to stop. He never should have done it in the first place. We don't really know because we weren't there and there's no video evidence, but it really does kind of point its way to that. All of that said, what do we do now? And I think most of us, if not everyone, was agreed that if he's guilty, he should pay the price. I think we've all said that. He should be punished. Well, now that we quote unquote know he's guilty, the question is, to me, what's the right punishment? And two nights ago, I got to kind of jump in as a last-minute special co-host with our friend Gene over at Buck What You Heard. He had Trevor Sickham on the show as well. And I asked him this question. I said, everybody's talking about, if he's guilty, he should be punished. If he's guilty, he needs to pay the price. Well, what's the price? Well, what does he actually need to do? And Trevor had said, well, I don't really know. That's kind of up to the individual to decide what they think the price should be. And that's true in the court of public opinion, and that's what everybody's talking about out on social media of, 3 games was not enough. It should be this. It should be that. Tom Jones is writing another article double downing on the Bucs should just cut ties with Jameis and he needs to go away and nobody will ever hire him again. Rick Stroud seems to be coming to that personal opinion as well, although I don't think he's been nearly as clear with that in his show. Some other people are avoiding putting their own personal opinion out there. I will tell you guys this. There is enough of the old conservative Republican Southerner in me that may be dying, but is still there a little bit, that kind of goes back to I think the decision should be left up to the victim, or in the worst case scenario, the family of the victim. What are you going to do with them? What does the victim have to say? Because I'm not the judge. So who's the victim here? Well, it's Kate, right? Mm-hmm. And to some extent, you might kind of possibly say the NFL and the Bucs organization, but it's Kate. And listen, here's the deal. I'm kind of looking to her. Now, if Kate sees fit to make the statement that she made and let it go and stand by her original statement of, I'm not going to pursue this, I'm not going to do a civil suit. Her lawyer came by later and said, listen, we are not looking to sue unless he forces us to do it. Okay, that was the statement once she finally lawyered up. Right. If she's fine and it kind of says, hey, listen, the NFL did their thing and I'm pleased with that, I'm not looking for any money, I don't want to go through this anymore, it's okay, then you know what? That's good enough for me. I'm okay. Because I'm not going to stand in judgment and jury over Jameis Winston. I'm just not going to do it. That's what she says. That's good enough for me. Then the question comes down to me of, is Jameis still fit to play professional football? Well, that's a question for the NFL. And what the NFL has said, and we do know this, it's 3 games. He will be punished for 3 games. He's got to do an evaluation and possibly some counseling or something like that, and he never, ever, ever can do this again. That being said, yes, he can still play in the NFL. And you know what? That's good enough for me. I can move on. I think the third question then naturally flows out of that. Well, can Jameis still play for my team? Can he still play for the Buccaneers? Right. Well, that's a decision up to the Glazers, Jason Light, and Dirk Cutter, honestly. And they can look at it. They've got way more detail on this than we do. And if they say, hey, the NFL suspension is enough and he can come back and play for the Buccaneers and we'll move forward with that, then you know what? That's good enough for me and I can move on. And the way that I look at this is I see all these people making judgments and saying what they should or shouldn't do, and people writing articles, and whether it's in the media or fringe media or whatever. If the major players involved in this have all said the suspension and the stipulations are good enough for them, then that's good enough for me. I don't need more blood to satisfy me. Now, you seem pretty convinced, Ren, that Kate is going to go on and create a civil suit, which she's fully within her right to go ahead and do that. If she wants to go forward with that, then that's fine. And Jameis is going to have to face those things. I doubt they're going to file criminally, but they probably will go civilly. But either way, and whatever that judge decides, then Jameis will have to pay that price. That's justice. That is he did it. He's going to have to pay the price. But we can move on from that. It's I don't have to stand it, and that's for me. This is the decision I'm making, because if there's something I've learned from you over the course of our friendship is I'm not going to tell other people how to respond. All I can do is tell you how I'm going to respond, and the way that I'm going to respond is if they're all good with it, I'm good with it. And if they say they can play, I'll just say you can play, because it's the name on the front of the jersey. It's our team. It's our team moving forward, and I'm going to pull for the Bucs. And if Jameis Winston is a Buccaneer, then I'm pulling for Jameis Winston, because I'm pulling for the Bucs. If he moves on from the team and is no longer a part of the team, then guess what? I'm not cheering for Jameis Winston anymore.
Oh yeah.
No offense to the guy. I'm not.
Yeah, that would have been fact, no matter if this ever happened or not.
Right. So
Jameis Winston becomes a Jet. I don't care about Jameis Winston.
Okay, right. Who cares about Austin Severian Jenkins anymore? Like, seriously. Who cares about Mike Glennon anymore? We don't. They're good people, I'm sure. Well, maybe not. Anyway, we don't have to go into that. Bad example. Okay, bad example. But you guys,
Mike Glennon might be good people.
Right. You get what I'm saying, though. For me, the victim is the one who I think kind of gets to help, who gets to decide what should be done and what's fair. And, to sum all that up, if it's good enough for them and they're good with it, then I'm good with it. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Glazers have to cut ties. Oh, they can't do this. Oh, they can't do that anymore. And I choose not to listen to the rest of the people who want to pronounce judgment over this whole situation.
Yeah. I'm with you. It's almost, that's what you have to be, Yeah. If Jameis Winston stays, like I think there's very few people that, like I described earlier, ride or die with Jameis. Like Jameis Winston can do, walk into your house, kill your dog, slap your kid, and walk out, and you're still like, man, what a great guy. I love that guy so much. There's very few of those out there, but they're out there. Jameis will never be able to do anything wrong in their eyes. So I think the most of us as Bucs fans, and this is once again my opinion, we're either in the God that really I really wanted this to turn out better and it's not. I don't know how to feel yet, or it's way, like I said, way over on the other side where you never should have drafted him. I told you so. The guy's a rapist. He's a sexual predator. This is, I think, where most Bucs fans are somewhere in there. In
between those two pieces is what you're talking about.
What's that?
Yeah, there's a few that are on the Jameis can do no wrong, but then there's this other spectrum between I really wanted it to be better and told you so. Never should. That most fans fall in that spectrum is what you're saying. Yeah,
right, exactly. So at the end, if Jameis stays and you're not prepared to leave the team, over one guy, which eventually isn't going to be with the team anymore sometime, then you just have to accept what the Glazers and, like you said, Light and Cutter come up with. Now, like I said, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at on this yet. I'm just not. people that say all the facts aren't out yet, all the facts that you're going to find out, unless there's a civil suit, are out. Mm-hmm. And if there is a civil suit, once again, I guarantee you that if Kate gets any money out of it, mm-hmm. which I think she has a very good chance of doing, especially since she got a free run from the NFL. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say she got a free run. The NFL gave her a free run mm-hmm. and found him guilty, and he's guilty in court of public opinion. That Jameis's lawyers, who, by the way, did a masterful job at getting him only 3 games instead of 6, mm-hmm. is going to have – you can't talk about it, like a no gag or gag clause.
It'll be a gag order, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the facts. This is all – unless you're in that courtroom, unless you're in that Uber car, unless you're with the NFL investigation, unless you're one of the 4 Glazers, Jason Light, Dirk Cutter, or whoever is involved in that conversation with Jameis Winston – this is it. This is all you get. These are all mm-hmm. the facts you get to be able to make up your mind. And for some of us, I am included in this. I don't know yet. Yeah. I am scared to death that it might happen again.
Right. So for me, it's enough for me. Yeah, and I think that's what I'm saying. Like, out of all of these things, it's enough for me. However, there is the question, and you and I do this as podcasters for the, covering the Buccaneers.
Right.
Because the question before us at this point is do we sign Jameis to another contract? And I'm not even talking about making him the highest paid quarterback in the league. I'm just saying, do we sign Jameis to another contract? Because, and this is the other side of it. When we look objectively at Jameis,
yeah,
and you have to weigh baggage that comes with him versus potential and what he has done and what he could do.
Right.
And when we look at it all, something like this could come up again. And I even dare say Jameis could potentially be 100% innocent. Because you hear that as one person, he already has a reputation for doing something like this.
Now it becomes a target.
Right? Or what if there's somebody from 2013 that he did something to, and now they want to come forward, and all of a sudden this whole thing gets dragged back up again?
He's done. Hey, yeah. I got a question for you.
Okay.
If this would have came out like within a week from when it happened,
yeah.
Would Jameis Winston still be a Buccaneer? Because that would have been less than a year from would have been right about a year. Was it less than okay, we're just going to say a year from being at Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
And now this comes out the day after. Would he still be a Buccaneer, and would he still even be in the NFL? Like, as far as Jameis Winston and Jameis Winston's camp, family, and protecting his future, this not coming out for a couple of years might be the best thing that happened to him.
It's I would tend to say yes. I think he would be, but
he would be. He came in like day one and told the reporters, "Judge me."
Yeah, judge me by my actions going forward, not by what's happened in the past, or something of that, to that effect.
And like 9-10 months after that, this comes up.
He gets drunk and he goes out and does it. It's. I don't know. It's possible because a lot of this is, to the Glazers. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this to the Glazers. Joel Glazer, or whoever the guy that gave Stroud the interview, his whole answer was, "Listen, the guy that I've come to know is not that guy, and so I can only judge based off the guy that I've come to know." So, I don't know. We could.
He copped out like we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What's Warren Sapp say? If its and buts were candy and nuts every day to be Christmas. Who knows? Who knows? But it's.
Here it is. I'm not leaving my fandom for the Buccaneers.
Right.
As of right now, does a fire burn as brightly as it did, during last season?
Mm-hmm.
No. It doesn't. It hurts. It hurts me to be affiliated with my team, my boys, and one of my boys has done something that is inexcusable.
Right.
And
it is. It is.
And
yes.
And you just like, it's like, what do you do with that? It's like, I'm not a parent. I'll probably never be a parent, but I can imagine that these are things that are going to happen to you very soon, Brent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hush your mouth! Oh my word!
With kids, I don't mean like the sexual things, but there's going to be things like it's like you can't, you're going to be looking at a kid like, like we'll use the Marty McFly from Back to the Future.
Uh-huh.
You set the carpet on fire. Like,
right. Right.
What do you do with that?
Yeah. Oh no, you just I mean, to a small microcosm level, you describe my everyday life with a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Kid, what are you doing? Oh my word. But man, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. And that's where I sit back, so we go back and let's judge Jameis on football. And the baggage he brings in with the versus what he has done and the potential that he could do, the baggage he brings in, something could come up. We don't know. It might not. And let me tell you, if you're right and a civil suit goes forward, Bren,
mm-hmm.
This is all going to get, as far as distraction and what people are talking about and people's opinion of Jameis, whatnot, this is all going to come back up again if a civil suit does actually get filed. And God forbid a whole new allegation either comes forward that's already happened or something new happens. So God forbid that any of that happens. But you and I have been ardent, and I mean ardent defenders of Jameis Winston and his play on this podcast, and I don't expect that to change from a football perspective.
No.
However, here's where we are. Hold on. Here's where we are. We're entering in his 4th season.
Uh-huh.
In 3 seasons, he's only won 18 games?
I believe so.
Something like that. He's putting up some amazing numbers except for the win-loss column. There is not the interception issue. I don't know. We've spent so much time just saying that the turnover issue really isn't that much of a turnover issue except for the fumbles.
Well, that's what it's progressed to. When he came in the league, it was an interception issue.
Right. So
and then he steadily made that go away.
Right.
But as that's gone away, the fumbles have started to skyrocket. And so now it's just now it's a turnover issue.
Right. And so we got to look out for that. And you got to sit back and say, but Jameis still could become just a great quarterback. And the question that I'm looking for the 13 games that Jameis is going to be on the field this season is what he bringing to the table and his potential worth whatever potential baggage could still come up later. As we look, and I say we as if we're going to be the ones actually in the room doing it, as our beloved Buccaneers seek to offer him a second contract and become the very first quarterback that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have ever drafted to get a second contract.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, if you want to look on the bright side, we'll probably get him cheaper.
Possibly.
And let's not fool ourselves. Since this did come out, and if the Bucs do decide, all reports seem to think that Bucs are going to roll with Jameis Winston this year, which I think is the right decision.
Right.
If he goes out and has a great year, and it becomes almost a no-brainer, and all this other stuff goes in the back burner, and everyone, he starts to win, everyone forgets and all this, and he's the hero of the town again. And it becomes obvious that the Buccaneers should sign Jameis Winston to a long-term contract. Make no doubt about it. There's going to be language in that contract is that as soon, I shouldn't say as soon as. Whoops! I subconsciously don't think he's going to be able to keep clean. But there's going to be language in that contract that if anything like this comes up again, he doesn't get any of the money.
Right. Okay, now let me ask you about that. Could it be any accusation from any point in his life?
Well, does
it have to be a new the accusation the incident occurred
since
from today forward, or from 2016 forward, or whatever?
If I was on Jameis's team and Jameis's lawyer, it would have to be. The furthest I would go back was being since he was a Buccaneer.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say since you were drafted. I would say since he signed a contract with the Buccaneers, because that's when you officially become a Buccaneer. But you can't go back. How would you like to get a job and go? Okay, if I
see, I wouldn't go back that far. Honestly, if I'm his lawyers, I wouldn't want to go back that far. I'd go back.
But you have to.
I'd go back at least to this I wouldn't go any further back than
is like okay, you don't want to go all the way back. You only want to go back to like when we signed this contract. Okay, well, we're not comfortable with that because obviously, there are things in his past that have come out since you are a Buccaneer. If you want to do that, you get $10 million less.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It becomes a negotiation.
It does.
What my original point was, there's going to be language in there for all types of situations as far as trouble goes, and depending on the situation, depends on the severity of the amount of money the Buccaneers can take away from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. It really will, because it
just sucks.
It does. It sucks.
It just sucks.
It sucks.
And I say this is not mad at Kate or being on Winston's side. It just sucks, man.
Yeah.
It's like you finally felt like you had a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think when we sit back and we look at the plight of the Buccaneers, right? It as a team, we've never had a good quarterback.
No,
at least a long-term good quarterback.
Yeah,
let's put it that way. We've never had the franchise quarterback guy who, we've never had the Drew Brees, the Matt Ryan, or the Cam Newton, who's been around for 10 years or 15 years. We've
the Favre, the Brady.
Yeah, I mean, and we finally thought, well, maybe we had that guy, and you got your hopes up, and then crap, this happens. And I think when you look at most Bucs fans, that's what, whatever anger or frustration or whatever, that's a big part of, I think, of where this is coming from.
Yeah.
That, man, we thought we could possibly have, even the people who didn't like Jameis Winston, there's got to be something in the back of their head that was like, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll turn out to be a good guy, or to be a good quarterback. And that's, well, I told you he was never going to be good. It sucks for us as fans, because what does this mean? What does this mean going forward? Let's say bad stuff happens and he's not coming back for a second contract.
Right.
Are we now back to square one? We got to find a guy again?
No, I mean,
are we going to tank another season to go get?
No. I think Jason Light has. I was thinking about this today. I think Jason Light has built a roster with enough talent around it where, one, you can attract free agents, and two, you could probably have a pretty different season with a quarterback like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Great. But what do we do long term, Ren? What do we do long term for a quarterback?
You could get somebody like Kirk Cousins. He's going to be a long term answer in Minnesota.
I don't want Kirk Cousins.
I'm saying somebody like that.
Yeah, I know.
And then what? Or you have to bite the bullet, like the Eagles did, and give up a bunch of draft picks and go get your guy and hope it works out. Unlike it did for the Redskins, they gave up 3 first-round draft choice, went and got RG3, didn't work out.
Right.
Eagles gave up 2, went and got Carson Wentz. What was he, number 3 by vote of the players, the top 100?
And he didn't even go to the – he didn't –
Yeah, I know. And I think it's ridiculous too. Right. I think he's going to be very, very good. I really do. I think Carson Wentz will be a top 10 quarterback, and I'm probably lowballing it for his whole career.
Is Mitch Trubisky going to be really, really good, you think, after what the Bears gave up for him?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's what might happen. But, but I trust that Jason Light's not go – the roster is going to be good enough as long as he's here and running the roster that losing your starting quarterback doesn't mean curtains. And even losing your starting quarterback, your young starting superstar budding quarterback, doesn't mean it's a 5-year now. Okay, we got to start. We got to wait 5 years from now. I just don't.
We're going to go back into rebuilding mode or whatnot.
Yeah,
and I'm with you.
Figure something out.
I think we just, especially in this division, we need that guy who's going to be, who's going to be here long term, going to be the career quarterback here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and somebody who is going to follow
consistency at the QB
position. Exactly. Yeah. And and what's it going to take to get that guy? And God, this sucks. I mean, and my God, we're sitting here
off the ledge, Brent.
This is the ridiculousness of what we're doing here, Brent. We've got a lady out in Arizona who sexually abused, sexually assaulted, whatever word you want to use. All right, something bad happened to her, shouldn't have happened.
Right.
And we're over here complaining about, oh, my quarterback. What are we going to do for my team?
I know.
But we're a Buccaneers podcast, and that's what we do. So
I know it's so hard.
It's
like you can't bitch about it because if you do, then you're not getting it. You're part of the problem. Well, when let me know when I'm allowed to talk about how much this sucks for me as a fan.
Right.
Like let me know when.
Because by the way, this podcast is by fans for fans about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're not a political podcast. We're not a social movement, social justice podcast. That's not what we do here. Anyway,
I won't be wearing any Bucs gear outside for a while. Not that I have any, really.
Yeah. Ren, as time ticks on, 2 quick questions from fans that sent in about the situation. Our friend Gene from Buckwitch Herd sent me a message, said, hey, ask this question. Do you think that the NFL directed Jameis Winston to issue the apology letter with the specific wording that was in it?
Absolutely not.
You think that was more Jameis's lawyers?
That is these last two, the one by Jameis and the one by Kate. I think Kate has every right. Like, even if she says, here's the thing: when she says to BuzzFeed, when she says, "I'm not looking for any money," like I said before, that was before she lawyered up. And then you said at one point, and I remember that too. There was a little statement by her lawyer: as long as Jameis Winston doesn't fight us on this, there's going to be no civil case.
Right.
Now, I think that's just deft maneuvering. Is what that is. That's like outmaneuvering Jameis's camp. Well, if you don't say that, you don't call my client a liar, and since your public social media presence is so much higher than hers, you can get your fans to crush her, and chase her out of town. All this. If you don't do that, nothing's going to happen. I think that was false. I think that was lawyer talk. That was like, this is the pawn we're going to move.
Or we're waiting for Jameis to get that big contract so he has more money we can go after.
Yeah, and she's got 7 years to do it. That's also part of it. I'm telling you, man, this NFL investigation is a dry run for her civil case. It is. It is. So, and I'm not mad at like I don't think if I was in her situation, I would do what I think she's going to do 100 times out of 100.
You think you would?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, truth, because I've had that thought. If I was her, the NFL came back and said, yes, we think he did it. Because in civil suit, if I understand it right, I'm not a lawyer, but if I understand it right, taking into a civil case just means, is he responsible for what happened?
Right.
Not did he do it.
How much is that worth?
He responsible for what happened and how much is it worth? At this point, he is responsible for what happened, whether he did it or not.
In the court of public opinion, in the court of the NFL, which has tons of lawyers. Sure. I should look up who this Lisa Farrell and John.
Lisa Farrell is she's some big federal investigator that the NFL hired. It's interesting if you want to look it up. That's not the point for what we're saying here. Anyway,
yeah,
they're going to go do that. So. They very well could just be waiting for the big contract.
But why wouldn't you that? Yeah, and
why wouldn't you? Yeah, and why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't blame her. And here's the thing: I wouldn't blame her. And if that's what she wants to do, that's where I kind of go back to that. Let the victim decide. Like that's where I say that's okay. I'm not going to sit in judgment over Jameis. But if she wants to go and sue him in court and he's got to pay the price for what he did, so be it.
That's what happened.
So be it. All right, one more question, and then we'll get out of here. Chris, our friend Chris from Alaska.
Oh, Lord. How long is this one?
The question is relatively short.
Okay.
But kind of leading into it, he says the baseline for sexual misconduct in the NFL is 6 games. His suspension is 3. And let's hear it.
His questions are always very well thought out.
It very much is. He says it's 3, but it also says that a second offense would receive a 1-year suspension. And the NFL policy states that sexual crimes you could be banished or banned,
right?
And apply for reinstatement after a year. So his question is a 1-year suspension and banishment the same thing?
No. Yeah. Okay. after the quote-unquote 6 games, which basically this is what Jameis Winston has, at least I think so, as far as the policy goes, the NFL conduct policy goes, this is his 6-game suspension. Got knocked down to 3, but still counts as a 6.
Right.
If it happens again, the league can banish him for a year, or they can just – basically they can kick him out for the year, or they can kick him out until –
they want to.
Whenever they want to.
Yeah.
Like if you never try to reinstate, you'll never get back in.
Yeah.
That's what Josh Gordon's going through in Cleveland. He's back now, but it was like, hey, can I come back? No, not yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you still mad at me? Can I come back? No, not yet.
Right.
Yeah. You still mad? You still mad at me?
Right. Yeah. I think that's it. It's almost like, no, you're banned from the NFL. You can apply for reinstatement after a year, but you're banned. Or it's just a straight, it's either you're suspended for a year and then you can be back, or no, you're banned and talk to us after a year. Maybe we'll change our mind.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's why they use the word indefinitely, because it's a legal thing, because you can't have a gap where it's like, oh, he get banned for a year. The next thing you're banned for life. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so you're banned for life. And then maybe 6 months down the road, it comes out that you're actually not guilty of what happened. Well, now what do you do? Well, we're going to overturn it. We're banned for life. That's why it's like indefinitely. So if new information comes out, or you feel like that you've served enough, or you've jumped whatever hoops the NFL wants you, then you can come back. But it's not a set period. It's not like, okay, you got to sit out 2 years and then come back. So you could just go on vacation for 2 years and show back up and come back in. No. There's lots of things that you have to do for the NFL to let you back in. And all that gray area is why you just say indefinitely.
There you go. All right, Ryan. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode. I think we've that
went a lot longer than I thought it was.
It did. I think we have exhaustively given our thoughts and our opinions and honestly our reactions to this whole thing. So, fans, this is where we're going to turn it back on you. We would like to know what you think. We would like to know how you are going to react. You can do that by tweeting at us to the Pewtercast, at the Pewtercast on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook.com/the Pewtercast. Or if you're a little more winded than the characters you're allowed there, send us an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We will try to read those on a future episode of the show. Ren, where can the fine people out there find you on the internet?
The best way to find me is on Twitter at RenDax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football. And I know I said that I'm not going to tell people how to feel and how to think about this, and I'm not. But if you ask me anything, you can DM me if you don't want to throw it out on Twitter. Ask me about this podcast and why did I say this or why did I say that or why did you think this or why did I think that, as me, as Ren, or me as, trying to break this down as taking all the emotion out of it. This is what it says. These are the facts. Mm-hmm. I will talk with this about you or talk this about with you. Wait, now I messed it all up.
We'll talk with you about this.
About it. There we go. Thanks. It's after midnight. So don't feel like you can't talk to me about this on Twitter, DM wise, because I said I'm not going to tell people, what to think or what to feel. If you have a question, like I said, about an opinion or something I said on this, feel free to reach out and we'll discuss it for sure.
And if you guys want to get in touch with me personally, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social media platforms out there. And once again, the show is at the Pewtercast, also across the various social media platforms. Well, Ren, I don't exactly know what's going to be coming out next here as we're here in the Long Dark Night. Got a couple of things planned. I'm just not sure of the order that it's going to come out. So, really, fans, until next time, go Bucks.